So I went to Falcon last week, which is the board game convention here in Calgary, and I played something very fun called Mega Terraforming Mars. And yeah, I liked it, so I thought I'd do a video, go over how to do it. It's pretty easy to do at home actually, and if you have the time and the players, I recommend you try it. So yeah, let's go over the rules and how it works. You're basically playing with two boards. In this case, they're doing Elysium and Tharsis at the same time, and the idea is that they connect at the edges. So Arcia Mons is the same space for both maps, and this tile over here is the same space for both maps, which also means that these two spaces and these two spaces are adjacent. Now you have two maps, so you're probably wondering, do you have to terraform twice? Yes. So yeah, you have to terraform every parameter twice, which means it's 18 oceans, 38 heat steps, 28 oxygen steps. And if you're playing Venus, 30 Venus steps. Now the rules when it comes to raising the parameters is basically you always raise the lower one, which means they're always like at the same or one is higher level. So you go, for example, with the oxygen, you go 0, then the first one goes 1, then the second one goes 1, then the first one goes 2, second one goes 2. It doesn't really matter which one you raise for the temperature and oxygen, and it doesn't matter where you place the greenery that the oxygen raises, like you can just raise either one. And the rule for the oceans is you can place them anywhere, so you can have 12 on one map and only 6 on the other. For requirements, basically choose, so you get to pick the lowest one on max requirement and the highest one on mean requirements. And for the rewards on the tracks, just claim it the first time you reach it. So the first time you go to 24, you get a hit prod. When you move the hit again the second time, it doesn't give you the hit prod again. Obviously, this means the game is a lot longer, but that's kind of the idea. Now, the recommendation was to play with 6 players. We actually played with 4, which was fine too. And then for milestones and awards, basically there's 6. You don't have to claim 3 and 3. You can claim 6 on every map, 5 on one map and 1 on the other. And same thing for awards, and the values for awards is 2 are worth 8, 2 14, and 2 20. Obviously, you play with all expansions. You put all colony tiles in play, all 11 colony tiles. Finally, the last aspect of it that I thought was interesting was that we drafted corporations. I thought this was actually great. I've always thought that getting 2 corporations, it's like once you have all expansions, really out of 40 getting 2 is really not enough. You should at least get 4, but drafting them before you see your hand is even more fun. It requires more strategy in the game, so we actually just drafted 4 instead of 6, which is what it says here because there were only 4 players. 5 players. We ended up playing with 5. And then we did the same with prelude. You draw your preludes after your corporation card, and then you continue to play as normal. So those are the rules. One thing that we did talk about in the end was maybe doubling the ocean requirements for all cards, because you're kind of getting double the requirements for temperature and oxygen, but for oceans, like anything that's 3 oceans, it's 3 oceans, so maybe we should consider that 6 oceans. But we played it as 3 oceans, and it's not really a big deal. Those are all the rules. Now I'm going to talk what my general strategy was going into the game. And I just basically thought it's going to be a long game. Not only because all expansions are in play, but the parameters are double, so it's going to be nearly impossible to rush the game, even though terraforming corporations actually have double the amount of points to keep. So it doesn't mean that you can't go for a terraforming corporation like Ecoline or UNMI or Helion, although Helion sucks, never go for Helion. But it does mean that you need to try to get points, so maybe like you can't rush. So if you're playing Ecoline, for example, plan to get cities and put them in there, and also get go into the animal and microbe strategies, which give you points on the board. So don't do the ocean walking rushing strategy at all. You can totally play plants. There's 28 oxygen steps now. That's a lot of points with greeneries, so it's not that you can't win with it, but you definitely have to go for a citizen animal strategy instead of an ocean walking one. Same thing for heat, you can get a lot of heat. There's 38 terraforming points to begin with heat. Although with heat, I mean, it is even a little weaker because heat is just heat. But I thought going into it, I'm probably gonna go for like an engine. I know all colonies are in play, so I'm probably gonna be hitting Pluto a lot. Gonna work on my mega crate and titanium production, and go for probably like points on cards kind of game. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did. So let's talk about how the game went. So first of all, we only found 5 players, and one of them was new to the game. Now I would, this guy was a pretty good sport, but I would not recommend anyone not understand like playing this for the first time. First of all, it's gonna be super long. They might end up hating the game, and you might never get to play Terraforming Mars again. But second of all, there's just too much going on. Like even I would never recommend a first player to go for all expansions. As much fun as they are, probably good with like just preludes and I mean whatever whichever one of the maps in the base game. That's how I would recommend anyone to start the game. And then you can add Venus, which is a simple expansion, and then Colonies and Turmoil last. But having them all at the same time, there's just too much going on all over the board for a new player, and it's also double the time. Plus, there's drafting, so yeah. He finished last, but at the end of the game, he was actually picking it up, which was cool. Hopefully, he'll play next time. So yeah, we got 5 players, which again it's fine. I would even play this with 4. 3, I just probably play the the normal version, but for 4 and 5, I think this is way more fun. I actually don't like to play the base game with 4 and 5, and I've never gotten 6, but yeah, I would recommend that. Right off the bat, like I said, my strategy was that on my corporation draft, I got Pre-Star, Manutech, which I really wanted to play, Poseidon, the Asteroid one, and Celestic. So I got a little bit of everything, like one Colonies one Venus one. Pre-Star is, I think, just really strong for long games, and Manutech for production, so I got those 2. And the Asteroid one, I just, I've never played it, so I just wanted to see. I get some asteroids in my hand, I'm like, fuck it, let's have fun. And then my hand was shit. So my hand had one playable card, and that was the one that places a colony for 12, interplanetary colony ship. And even though I really wanted to play Manutech, because one of my preludes was the 3 energy prelude, which would have let me trade first generation with Pluto, yeah, power generation. I knew I had to go Poseidon, so I could put some colonies in Pluto, play my only colony card and put that in Luna, and then just hit Pluto all the time until I got some decent cards. Like my other 9 cards were not, I mean, they weren't all bad, but none of them were playable early. Like a lot of multipliers or cards with requirements, basically. So yeah, I had a really tough start, but by the middle of the game, I was almost in the lead. Unfortunately, we couldn't finish. Time ran out, so we played for. I mean, setup for the game was around 45 minutes. Plus, we also tried to find that 5th player, and then the game went for 5 more hours. We got to 8 generations. It probably would have taken 2 or 3 more to finish. Which is, if you think about it, 11 generations with 5 players, it doesn't make the game that much longer. But we're, like the last turns were pretty long. Like the last generation took almost 40 minutes. So yeah, I would say play it safe, and 7 or 8 hours is probably the. I mean, you're probably shooting over, but I mean, you want to make sure you finish. I finished second, 5 points behind Ecoline. An Ecoline player was really good. He managed to get the greens in power constantly. He had an amazing opening hand where he had ecology experts, farming, experimental forest, and he was able to claim gardener, terraformer, and ecologist really quickly. Like there was nothing we could do. We were also playing with the modified terraformer, the one that's 26 because it's turmoil, and also the events just kept putting the greens in power. But he played it really well. He put his delegates there when he had to, and the greens were pretty much in every other generation until the sixth. And with the three milestones, I couldn't catch up to him. I probably would have won because I got my income to like 70 by the time the game ended. So I mean, both agreed, like with the game going longer, I had the best engine, but honestly, he played an amazing. He probably played the best game out of all of us. I just, hitting Pluto a lot sometimes gets you lucky with the income cards. And it was also unfortunate for him that only one other player was terraforming. We had a player doing the heat. No one was doing the oceans, so that's the thing that would have made the game more, like longer. We were pretty much sitting on I think 5 or 6 oceans when the game ended. So I would have probably had to standard project all of that with my income. But yeah, really fun game. Kinda sad we didn't get to finish, but I was pretty satisfied in the end. I got my, 5 hour dose of terraforming Mars, and I got second place with Poseidon, which it's funny. I just did a video on how to fix it. I actually was exactly what I needed with that shitty hand, where I get to place 2 colonies on Pluto and just hit constantly until I get good cards. Um, but yeah, so final thoughts. Yeah, I think it's great. The only modification I suggested was the ocean thing, where you basically either multiply requirements by 2 or, you know, divide the number of oceans by 2 and round up when calculating parameters so that the ocean cards are also balanced. Because, if not, think about it, kelp farming comes in with a third of the oceans, 6 out of 18. But something like birds, like that's only coming in the last generation for sure. So you're not getting any advantage from that. Other nice thoughts as you've seen in the pictures. This guy basically had every upgrade for the game, which was really nice to play with. Yeah, he had all the two-dimensional tiles, the cool little markers. He had different trade fleets. I don't know if you can see those in the picture. And he even had 2 sets of the three-dimensional tiles. One were the Kickstarter ones, and I think the other one the black box ones. So he had 18 two-dimensional, three-dimensional oceans, 2 sets of three-dimensional greeneries and cities, domed cities. It's all. I mean, obviously, this is not necessarily going to make the game more fun for everyone, but it does to me. It does. Like I like seeing the little higher quality components, which is I think something the base game was missing. The nice thing though is that you almost don't need any extra things if you just want to do it at home. You need all the expansions, obviously, to play with all the expansions, and the Elysium map, that's just another expansion. But the game comes with 59 city greenery flippable tiles, which should be enough. I mean, that's I think a map has 61 tiles minus 12 oceans. That's like 49 tiles where you can place cities and greeneries. You can subtract the other 12 tiles that you might place, but you're not forced to place those. So, but really, with those, you should almost get there. I don't think you're gonna fill both boards. Like I said, it's still like a 10 to 12 generation game with 5 players. So you might be good with just those greeneries. You do need double the oceans, but I'm pretty sure you can improvise that somehow. Uh, so I mean, cut 9 paper hexes if you have to. Nothing else. But then yeah, everything else I think you have in the game is the same amount of trade fleets. It's yeah, the same amount of other tiles because you're not doubling the cards. Same amount of colonies. You need cubes for a 6 player. Again, not hard to get. Um, But yeah, that's I think is a really nice thing. Oh, and the last thing this guy had was he had the metal cubes for the money, which I thought they were awesome. I might buy those, but he actually told me they were kind of expensive. But yeah, anyway, that's all my video for Mega Terraforming Mars. Try it at home and tell me what you think. I really, really recommend it. But only playing with people who love the game and who know how to play the game, or you'll just alienate your friends like I do when I force mine to play Game of Thrones. Alright, have a good one and see you next time.